All right. One day I will know exactly how to find the record button, but today is not that day. Welcome back to our third and final day of Gone for Good Bootcamp Edition. You might be wondering, what else even is there, Esther? Mattis is my son. Um, on Wednesday, we talked about all the exercise and nutrition stuff. You told us what matters for your food, what matters for your workouts. Yesterday, we talked about how to surround yourself with support so that you actually follow through and do those things and don't feel so alone. What else is left? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Um, all right, did I hit record? Yes, I did. Okay, excellent. All right, so let's go big here. All righty. I don't actually know. I haven't looked at the replays. I'm up in the corner of my screen. I don't know if when you guys watch the replay, if you can even see me at all, which would be annoying because I have like closed the blinds and I make sure that my hair is not a disaster. Um, so it hadn't occurred to me that you might not be able to see me at all. In any case, welcome back. Thank you for being here. This is our third and final installment. If you guys who are here live have any questions about the previous 2 days, feel free to just put them in the chat. You can privately message them to me as well. And if anything comes up for those of you watching the replay and you want to shoot that to me via email or DM, you're welcome to do that. Okay, so let's get started. So like I said, you may be wondering like what else are we possibly talking about today? And as this now familiar image indicates, like what we've covered so far is really the tip of the iceberg. We've covered the obvious stuff, the stuff that you already know matters or that you need or would be beneficial, right? Everybody you talk to is like, what are the best workouts for fat loss? How much should I be eating? Do I need to be fasting? Should I cut carbs? How do I get more protein in? All of that sort of surface level stuff is what's at top of mind, right? We just want to know like what is the what to do? How do I do it, right? And then yesterday we covered, kind of the help doing it, right? You probably wasn't like brand new news to you that that things are easier with accountability and support and guidance, right? So all that stuff is sort of like at least on the radar. What we're going to talk about today is every potential thing standing in the way of your long-term success, of your ability to not just reach your weight loss goal, however big it is, but to also maintain those results for the rest of your life. What we're covering today is what you really need if you have lost and gained, say, more than like 10 pounds at any point in the past. If you have sort of that yo-yo of you're like, yeah, well, I'm good for a while and then I'll lose 10, 15, 20 pounds and then it comes back. Thank you, Janice. Okay, confirmed. You can see me in the corner. I appreciate that. If you have had the experience of, committing yourself to a diet and seeing success with it, and then for whatever reasons, gaining the weight back, what we're covering today is the crux of what you need. It's not a supplement. It's not a brand new workout challenge. It's not a longer Peloton streak. It's the deeper work that we're covering today. What we are doing each day, we're getting a little bit deeper. And today we're going beneath the surface and talking about kind of the stuff that most people don't. If you have done programs in the past or you have attended, kind of similar boot camp type things to this in the past, this is pretty much where they end, right? Here's the what to do. Here's how you can get help doing it. Good luck, right? And as you know, like that's very helpful. So I'm not saying that like what we've covered so far isn't helpful or necessary, but the missing piece is what we're talking about today. This is the work that most people avoid. Tell me if those of you who are here live, put just like a one in the chat or a me in the chat if this looks familiar, right? Especially this time of year. It's January, everybody's gung-ho, and everybody that you know is like wanting to lose weight and save money and learn a second language and blah, blah, blah. And we just like, we're full of like hope and excitement and enthusiasm that like 2024 is going to be my year. Everything is going to be coming up roses and it's just going to be smooth sailing. Like I'm just going to make it be so, right? So we've got this top expectation, just going to get from A to B, boom, done. We all know that the reality is more like this squiggly cluster beneath it, right? Um, what happens when life gets messy is generally that when we fall short of our idealistic expectations, we feel like we failed, right? I was just cautioning somebody the other day about not committing to a 365-day exercise streak. And it's not that like at its core, it was problematic. She was saying, it could be a 5-minute, stretch or something like that. It's not that I think it's necessarily over exercising or obsessive or anything like that. It's that the odds of doing literally anything 365 days in a row are tiny. We all brush our teeth every day. But I guarantee there was a day or two last year that you didn't. That the day just like got away from you. Maybe you were sick and you didn't get out of bed. Maybe you rushed out of the house because you slept through the alarm, you had to get the kids to school, and there you were, right? Even something as routine and as ingrained as brushing our teeth, we don't do every day. So setting the bar for literally anything at perfection, at 100%, I'm going to do this every day, is unrealistic, but we do it all the time. And then instead of being like, well, maybe I set the bar too high, maybe that wasn't realistic, we feel like failures. In addition to feeling like a failure, we have secondary feelings. We beat ourselves up about, we feel guilty, we're ashamed, we're embarrassed, we feel lazy, unmotivated, undisciplined. When we're in that sort of dark place, we're pretty likely to give up, right? If I'm a miserable failure anyway, why would I keep going? And then we beat ourselves up about that. You do this every time. You never stick with anything. And then your weight yo-yos with that, how much you're showing up. Over time, your self-trust is eroded. You don't trust yourself to follow through, to do what you say you're going to do, because look what's happened in the past, right? And we just go around and around and around. Over time, these experiences, this cycle, leads us to develop beliefs about who we are, our abilities, period, our ability to be successful at reaching our health and weight loss goals, and how the world works, right? We come to think, I am just not someone who is capable of reaching a healthy weight. Everybody in my family is overweight. It's just not an option for me. Therefore, why would I bother? Things like that. So how do we become people who don't give up on themselves, who don't lose themselves to life's challenges, and who make it through the tough stuff with their identities and their results intact? What needs to be different so that you don't give up at the first sign of difficulty? What is missing from your current toolbox so that you can confidently say, I know that whatever life throws at me this year, any year down the road, I can handle it. And I don't mean handle it by like, just be along for the ride and like hope for the best and like just try to survive. I mean, handle it without putting yourself and your health on the back burner and regaining the weight or finding yourself back in an unhealthy place. That is possible. That is available for you. But this is the work that needs to be done in order to get yourself there. We cannot keep hoping that we'll just somehow wake up with a life that is complete smooth sailing. No one has that. So what we really need to do is say, this reality right here, the squiggly reality on the previous page, this is what it's going to be like going forward. I'm going to continue to have pitfalls. I'm going to continue to have challenges. I'm going to continue to have uphill battles. There are going to be times where it's going to feel hard and I'm going to feel challenged and I'm not going to want to do it. What do I need to do to put myself in a position where no matter what is happening, I know that I can handle it and I continue showing up for myself? That's not to say nothing changes at all, but where you don't immediately default to the back burner, where you don't immediately fall out of your exercise routine. You don't start getting Uber Eats every night. What skills and tools can you develop now so that when you're challenged down the road, because you will be, you're prepared for it? And you look at that adversity as a learning opportunity and an opportunity to practice showing up as this version of yourself, as opposed to, I'll have to wait until things calm down. So what else is there? This type of stuff. Learning to set better boundaries, developing resilience so you bounce back when times are hard, believing in yourself, managing your time better, learning how to stop comparing yourself to literally everybody you cross paths with, managing your expectations about what's realistic, managing your stress, learning to be more compassionate with yourself, taking responsibility for, your choices, your actions, your future, your life, working on getting out of a victim mentality, addressing past experiences and family dynamics that may have created a lens through which you see the world that is no longer serving you, living in accordance to your values, having patience, developing a growth mindset where you believe I can learn new things and develop new skills, even if I'm a grown up, even if, I feel like an old dog, you can teach me new tricks. Things like emotional eating. So it's like a spider web of factors, right? Often, and just in my saying this, we may have already gone down a road that like you weren't expecting. But all of these things support you becoming the best version of yourself, which makes the day-to-day implementation of the big rocks feel so much easier that I would even say you can get to a point where doing those things feels effortless. This is what's standing in the way of the day-to-day stuff feeling easy. I know that you may be sort of groaning or thinking like, listen, Esther, I'm just here for the weight loss tips. I want to know the exercises I should be doing to burn fat and to make my belly smaller. I want the nutrition advice. I want to know like which superfoods I should be eating, which I should be avoiding. And now you're telling me I got to do all this like woo-woo, mental life, like tough stuff. It sounds like you're telling me I need therapy or that I need to that I need, a life coach or something. I hear you. I have had a similar reaction when business coaches have said, okay, we need to work on, mindset. Like, do you believe you can reach your goals? And I'm like, no, I'm here for like the tactics. Like, tell me like, what should I write in this email, right? We all want, that's what we want. And I have given that to you in day one, especially, but also day two. Day three is where I'm giving you what you need, and you may not have even realized that you need. So first of all, the willingness to do this work is what separates the many who have a goal from the few who achieve the goal and maintain the results. I'll have you know that I could not find when the original graphic is all of these guys are smiling. And I was like, well, that's not what I'm trying to convey here. So I had to manually copy and paste a frown face onto this left side. So props to me. Okay, so I'm always reminded of the song lyric, like, I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that. I often feel that way with weight loss of like, I'll talk to so many women who say like, I will do anything to lose weight. And I'm like, all right, well, here's a couple things. First of all, like, are you open to tracking your food? No, I won't do that. Are you open to addressing, the lifestyle and the mindset factors that might be holding you back? Nope, won't do that. Right. So I'll do anything to lose weight, but I won't do this work. This is why so few people maintain their results. And I'm not trying to harp on that statistic to make you feel badly, because just by nature of you being here, and especially by nature of you watching all 3 days of this training, you have the potential to be one of the few. I truly believe that. I know that you can do it. I've seen thousands of women do it in my program. I know that it's possible for you. There's nothing that you don't have that you need except the willingness to do the work and to kind of go the places that most people aren't willing to go. And second of all, doing this work is not nearly as daunting as it sounds. So I want to introduce you to a skill that you may not have heard of if you listen to my podcast, or if you're a former client, or you may be familiar with this term. It's one of the pillars of my Gone for Good program. But this all starts with developing the skill of compassionate ownership. That is what cements your confidence to know I can handle whatever, and I'm going to do it with my results intact. This is where you learn how to stop being so hard on yourself for being imperfect or not knowing everything or not having all the answers. while also taking responsibility for learning those new skills and tools and to overcome the challenges and to make the changes to get the results that you want. We want a combination of these two things. We don't want to always be letting ourselves off the hook of like, well, okay, like you tried. We also don't want to have this like really hardcore, like everything is your fault, beat yourself up type mentality. They're on opposite ends of the spectrum. We need both. And at different times, we need more of one or more of the other. If you're being really hard on yourself, you need to get a little bit more towards the compassion end. If you are making a lot of excuses, you need to get a little bit more toward the ownership end. But the ability to stop living in these two extremes where you're just like all or nothing and living in this messy gray area in the middle is the number one skill to foster the mindset, the lifestyle, the actions that will get you the results that you want. Compassionate ownership allows you to develop self-awareness without judgment. It's saying like, I didn't do great at this week. Good to know, not I'm a miserable failure because I didn't eat enough protein, right? It's the acknowledgement that like I have room to grow and I can acknowledge that without beating myself up about it, without being an a-hole to myself about it. It's where you develop that self-compassion, the self-trust to say, okay, now that I'm aware of this opportunity, I can trust myself to take action and do something about it. It's where you foster that growth mindset of, I don't know everything. I think I mentioned this yesterday, and part of why having guidance is so important is like, this is my cup of tea. I have been eating, sleeping, breathing this stuff for the last 20 years. Most of you haven't. Most of you have other passions and careers that light you up and that you've been immersed in for the last 20 years. You are not expected to know everything about everything. But you do need to develop the belief that you can learn and grow and that you're not just like stuck as the person that you are right now. In order to reach your weight loss goal and stay there long term, you're going to need to become a better, more evolved, more skilled, more educated version of yourself. And it starts with believing that you have the capability of learning new things. This is one of the number one skills that we work on developing in our Gone for Good program. It's so, so important, and everything else kind of splinters off from here. So what I want you to think about now, and these are in your workbook, are how does the version of yourself who has already reached your weight loss goal show up differently than you do now? Just kind of thinking of some examples off the top of my head. Something that I've heard clients say is like, I can't work out when I'm on vacation because we're in this small rental, and the only place I could do it would be like in the living room where my family might see me. I think the version of yourself who has already reached that goal would say, I work out where I can, and if other people are present, so be it. Or the version of yourself who's already accomplished that goal might say, I can communicate well enough to the people who love me the most to say, I'd like to do a 20-minute workout in the living room. I feel a little bit self-conscious about doing it in front of you. Would it be possible, or what time would be best for me to get the living room to myself for 20 minutes, right? The version of yourself looks, the better version of yourself looks for solutions rather than excuses. The version of yourself who has already reached your weight loss goal doesn't forget her lunch and say like, well, if I can't have the perfect meal that I prepped already, then I might as well just go to, I might as well just like eat the rest of the candy jar. That version of yourself would say like, all right, well, on to plan B, right? What else can I do? I know that I can navigate a restaurant menu or the grocery store or a gas station and put something together that will be pretty good. What are the obstacles that are preventing you from doing the big rocks consistently? When I introduced those to you on Wednesday, what were like kind of the knee-jerk responses that your brain came up with of like, either I already know this, or that's too easy, or how do I do it, or that's going to take too much time, or I don't like protein. Like, what were the kind of excuses that your brain offered you right off the bat? Those are going to be the obstacles. And first, we need the awareness of what those obstacles are in order to start to troubleshoot and overcome them. So those of you who are here live, either put in the chat or message me directly, like what are some of the obstacles that are sort of coming up for you? Just like 2 or 3 of the things that that feel relevant to you that we can sort of talk through as some examples. And then what skills and tools do you need to develop in order to not get derailed by life stuff and in order to actually reach your goal and then stay there long term? So is it that you need to be better at setting boundaries so that the busy season at work doesn't monopolize every moment of your life? Is it that you need to get better at communicating with your partner so that when the kids are needing a lot and you normally take on all of it yourself and everything you need gets, left in the dust, that you have a more equitable distribution of what needs to get done? Is it that you realize one, bad weigh-in goes down this really negative shame spiral and you beat yourself up, and what you really need to work on is your self-talk? Like, where are you noticing as a result of this conversation that you have sort of gaps in your toolbox or in your skill set that filling would help you be more consistent long term and be less sort of at the mercy of life being cooperative? All right, so at this point, if anybody here live has questions, we'll open it up for those. And like I said, if you're watching the replay and you don't have the opportunity to get live coaching during this Q&A, you can always DM or email me to do any of that. So I know we've covered a lot these last few days, and I really want you to applaud yourself for having signed up in the first place, followed through and attended live. I've seen some of you here all 3 days, and that's amazing. And I'm so, so grateful for you. For those of you who have caught all of the replays, carved the time out of your busy schedule to catch the replays, that's an amazing accomplishment. Pat yourself on the back for that. And also know that the work doesn't stop here. What matters the most is what you do with the information you got this week. Trust me, I am as guilty as anyone of attending trainings and signing up for freebies and doing, workbooks and things like that, reading books, and not taking action afterward, or not taking the type of action that I should, or the consistent action that I should. Patting myself on the back, feeling good about having learned, and then not actually applied. And that's what I want to make sure doesn't happen to you, especially this time of year. It's so, so common to start off well, start on a high, be gung-ho to do all the things, and you have a ton of, support and energy around it because everybody is, and then fizzling out. It's also super common to not even really be clear on exactly why you're not successful. Maybe when I was asking, those thought-provoking questions a couple slides ago, maybe you're thinking like, I don't know what keeps happening to me. And it's hard. There's a phrase in coaching called, you can't see the label from inside the jar. Sometimes it's hard to know WTF is going on with you, because like, you're you, like, I don't know. This is like this. I don't know. Like, starting to question and like getting outside perspective can be incredibly beneficial. So I want to offer you one more time that my team is here to help support you, make your life easier, less lonely, help you be more successful, and leave with that unwavering confidence to know that you have gotten the results that you need and you have made the changes that you need in order to cement them for life. This is just kind of a broad overview of what all is included in our signature program, Gone for Good. We cover all of the things we just talked about. The big rocks. We'll calculate your targets for you. We will, more importantly, help you hit those targets consistently without it feeling like a second job. We will give you the strength workouts and help you modify or tweak them to make sure that you're getting the most out of them. We have a Peloton calendar that you can just show up and follow. You'll have weekly calls with your one-on-one coach, unlimited messaging access for all of the guidance, support, accountability you could possibly want. You have weekly check-ins. We have live group calls to check in with the community. We've got a private Facebook group. We have daily accountability in that group. We have a private podcast feed. We have really in-depth resources to help you develop the compassionate ownership and the beneath the surface skills we've been talking about. We have so much that we offer you in this program that will make your life so much easier. And I want to invite you, if you have any interest in seeing if this program is right for you, to book a call with me. There's no obligation. It's me. You're going to talk to me and be like, oh, you're just like you were on that training, right? There's no like, this is who I am. This is what I do. I want to help you. And I will tell you if you're not a good fit, or if I don't think you need it, or if something else might be more appropriate. It's an opportunity for us to get to know each other better, to ask questions, to figure out, why haven't I reached my goals yet? What is standing in my way? So worst case, you walk away with more clarity on that. Best case, we decide it's a partnership that we want to move forward with. And you know that the next 3+ months of your life are going to be absolutely life-changing. So there's the link to book that, estherava.com/call. Find a time. If there are none in the calendar already that work for your time zone or whatever, just shoot me a DM or an email and we'll find a time. But I look forward to seeing your names pop up on my calendar. And with that, let me get into the questions/examples that just came in from those of you who are here live. Okay, so follow through with the planning and scheduled workout. Okay, so that's that's a good obstacle. All right, that's very common. We all tend to be pretty good at the prep work, right? We like to attend things, we like to get a new planner, we like to, color coordinate and write it all down, and then push comes to shove and we're like, oh, I don't want to do that now. I'll do that later. All right, so how do we overcome that? That, in a nutshell, is the kind of ownership piece, right? This is rebuilding your self-trust. Because what has happened over time is that, think about how many times have you planned and scheduled a workout or a meal, and then you decided just to not do it. Something else sounded better or something else came up and you just sort of threw it by the wayside. Each time that happens, it's not that individual workout, that individual meal is going to make or break your success. What happens, though, is it happens so many times that we no longer have any belief in ourselves that we're actually going to follow through. You go through the motions, but you've got this like wedge in the back of your mind. It's like, yeah, you're not going to do it anyway. You never do. Right? So you need to work on repairing that reputation with yourself. And that starts, and the other one that came in was talking myself out of doing something because I'm tired and I know I should. When I'm stressed, I eat. Okay, so these kind of tie in pretty well, especially talking myself out of doing something because I'm tired, even though I know I should do it, right? So say you've scheduled it and then the time comes and you're like, no, I'm tired. I'm just not gonna, right? So the same thing kind of applies to both of these. Is you need to work on repairing your reputation with yourself the same way you would go about repairing trust with another important person in your life. I probably shared this example on the podcast, but I worked at a bar in Boston in college, and two of the bartenders were dating. One of the male bartender cheated on the female. She found out because she was walking down the street and happened to be behind the other woman who was talking about it with her friend. And she was like, I'm sorry, excuse me, is that this guy from this bar? So that's how she found out. They stayed together. They had an awful relationship after that because they did not allow themselves to repair the damage that had been done. So the first step for doing that is you need to forgive yourself for all the times that you did not follow through in the past, all the times you talked yourself out of it for whatever reason. You need to wipe the slate clean. You are not a bad person because you did these things. You were doing the best you could at the time with the information, the resources, whatever that you had at the time. Forgive the past. Let it go. I would encourage you to say out loud, I forgive you. Just like you would any other person that you care about and want to continue to have a relationship, right? You cannot continue holding this grudge of, yeah, you always do this, right? Think about if you did that with your marriage. If you always dredged up the past and never allowed your partner to prove that things were different now. So number one, forgive. Number two, you need to be willing to put yourself into positions to repair that trust. You need to, what happens a lot of times is like we get out of the habit of even planning because we know we're not going to follow through anyway. So you need to be willing to try again, because if you don't, nothing's going to change. All that it takes to repair your reputation with yourself is repetition. You need to say you're going to do something and then follow through and do it time and time again until you have changed your self-perception, until you just believe I'm somebody who does what she says she's going to do. The way that you do that is to start really small. Most of us say it's the beginning of the year. I really want to get back into, 3 years ago during COVID, I was in this great routine. I was doing 5 days a week. I was doing blah, blah, blah. I want to get back to that. I'm starting Monday. I won't go down the rabbit hole of like how different our lives are now than they were during the pandemic. But what happens is maybe you're good for a week or two and then you sputter out. So the key to actually following through is to set the bar lower. Not forever, but in the beginning. Set smaller goals. Set goals in the beginning that are so small that you can't talk yourself out of doing them because you're tired. I do not care if that goal is I'm going to walk for 5 minutes when I get home from work. I don't care if that means I'm walking around the neighborhood in my, in my work shoes and my power suit. I said I'd do it. If the obstacle is I don't want to change my clothes, don't. If the obstacle is, if you're trying to work out in the mornings and you don't want to take off your warm jammies because they're comfortable, don't work out with them, right? Set the bar so low that you will not make excuses. That is the work that you need to do in order to repair your self-trust and in order to know I'm going to follow through on what I said I would do. And that's not to say that you need to follow your plan to a T. We all know things rarely go according to plan, but it's the self-trust to know, here's the plan. If I can do it as is, amazing. But at least I know what I'm trying to get done by the end of the day or by the end of the week. And if it doesn't go according to plan A, that's okay. I can trust myself to be flexible and still get done what I need to in a different way. So I'd say that's probably the secondary skill to work on developing is repair the self-trust and then develop a more flexible approach, more flexible mindset where it's not, I slept through the alarm, now I can't get in my full 60-minute workout. Well, I might as well just roll over and go back to bed. Better luck tomorrow. But it's, well, I still got 30 minutes. I can do more than nothing. Let me get in a little something. It'll feel good. Training yourself that it does not need to be this like very black and white, rigid approach, but more so, these are my objectives. Exactly how the week shakes out and they get done remains to be seen, but they will get done because I am someone who is trustworthy. Okay, I think that was an excellent example. Thank you for that, for those of you who are here live. Again, just one final time, want to thank you for being here. Thank you for the time that you've spent with me. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your support system. I would be thrilled at the opportunity for my team and I to be a bigger part of your support system and to help flesh that out for you and with you. And you have my link, esterdana.com/call to find a time to chat with me about the program. In the meantime, I hope that you take everything that you've learned here and start to take action on it and approach this year differently than you have years past, because that's what's going to make the difference between you being the 10% versus the 90%. Thank you so much. I will see you guys on the podcast, in the Facebook group, on social media, and I hope this is the start of a really great year for you.